Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am your host and moderator, Tara Gearhart. Thank you for taking the time to join today as we talk for the next 10 minutes or so about change control and AI and how they are driving compliance and efficiency through use of the FlowWright platform. This LinkedIn Live today is sponsored by FlowWright Enterprise Workflow Automation Software. You will leave with an understanding of how our platform helps of how our platform and AI play a role in change control for the, organizations. And don't worry about taking notes. This session will be live and saved to the page, as well as you can find it available on our website and YouTube. Please make sure that you are getting all the knowledge firsthand. We have our CTO, Dilip Janaka, and our CEO, Harold Engstrom, who will be our panelist experts today. So let's get into it.
Thanks, Tara. All right. Well, we're here today to talk about how FlowWright and FlowWright Workflow can use AI in conjunction with change controls to produce AI risk assessments for those change controls. You can go to the next page, Talipa. So life sciences companies have enormous numbers of change controls. And it's really important to assess the risk associated with making these changes because you need to test or perhaps even retest these changes. And the testing needs to be proportional to the risk. It's often the case that personnel who are tasked with making changes or assessing risk, they're not experienced or qualified enough to do a great job of this. So life sciences need to make sure, that they are, able to, capture those risks that affect patients and the accuracy of the regulatory filings. So if you have a change that's significant, that could be, one level of change, a level 1, 2, or 3 change is going to have to be assessed based on risk to patients. You have to make sure that the testing is commensurate with risk, as we discussed above. And after you have automatically generated risk assessments with HI, you want to make sure that humans review them, to either add to them or ensure that those assessments make sense. Change controls are extremely manpower intensive. They take a lot of time, and they're still of inconsistent quality right now. And so this is just an example of a way to accelerate that time, be more efficient, and improve the quality of your risk assessments. Go ahead, Dee. So there are, literally, thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of change controls across life sciences entities. Those change controls are of dozens of different types. And what needs to be understood are the calculations and context for change controls. There are, hundreds of potential permutations of risk to be assessed, even perhaps for a single change control. And the result is that, even large pharmaceutical companies manage change control suboptimally, and the costs are enormous. Go ahead, Dee. So what you want to do with respect to using AI to help with risk assessment for change controls is to give AI context, give it access to the details you think are important. AI will generate the assessment based on that and then give humans a report. Go ahead, Dee. So what Dilip will do is, open up a simplified proof of concept. He will choose a change control type, enter the change control information, and then once he enters that information and submits, FlowWright will compute the risk level using artificial intelligence. That will happen in roughly real time. And then FlowWright will manage the compliant process where the change control will flow through a review and approval process. The report will immediately be available to show the assessment, and a task can be generated for quality engineering, et cetera. So we will walk through this process. the tasks in the generated document.
All right, let me take over from here and give you a demo of that. And looking at a simple POC that we built for this particular live demo for change control. Once I log in, this is a FlowWright built application. And first thing I'm selecting here is the change control type. We have three different types here: document change, equipment change, process change. Typically, these are types that you see within any biotech pharma domains. So if I select document change, you can see based on the logic on this particular form, it automatically told me that it needs 5 days for the SLA, it's GXP, and also some extra questions that showed up. If I select equipment change, you can see it's 4 days, and it's a non-GXP, and there's no extra questions. And if I select a process change, it shows that I have 3 days for the SLA. So let's go ahead and say we're going to do a process change, and our change control, what we want to do is, let's say, need to change how security cards are authorized and provided to users. So this is the change that I'm giving. And next thing, I'm going to go ahead and say compute risk and summary using AI. So at this point, it's going to collect the information that's on this form that I have filled in and send that to our AI provider. And it is going to do all the computations, everything in real time, and come back and show us the data here. So it's computing the risk level, and it's also giving us an AI summary. So as you can see, it computed the risk level to be high, and a complete AI summary of what needs to be done for such a change. So in this case, the change control description is about modifying the process for authorizing and distributing security cards to users. So it automatically computed and telling, what the objective is, what the current process overview might be, authorization, distribution, the proposed changes, the benefits. So you're not in the dark, to figure out what needs to be done. The AI is actually helping you figure out what needs to be done for this change control.
And Billy, may I just add that what AI will return is largely based on what you put in. So the more detailed your change description is, the more specific the risk assessment will be.
Exactly. And I could also go in here and change that. As Harold said, I could say be specific to the pharmaceutical domain or biotech domain. And it will use that information to even further qualify and give us more detailed information specific to that particular domain. So let's wait till it comes back, and it'll compute and give you better data for that. Okay. So here we go. We got some new data that came back. And this gives you more specific to biotech domain, how authorization of security cards will be handled. Okay. And as you can see, it even goes into regulations as FDA and HIPAA, which are critical standards used by biotech pharma industries. So next thing, I'm going to go ahead and submit this form. And typically in any change control process, there's a process behind that it has to go through review and approval. In this case, we used a very simple process. But at the end of the process, it's going to actually generate a nice PDF document that you can be reviewed, and it can be transmitted to various people through email or through application. So let me go ahead and submit this change control. And at this point, once it's submitted, according to the process, I'm going to get a task. Typically, this is a task that will be received by somebody within the organization. So you can see we have BYC0011, change control, document control review. And if I go into that task, you can see all the information that I entered, including the information that was generated by AI. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and say approve this change control. And once I've done that, the next thing in the process would be to generate a nice PDF document with all this information. So if I go to reports and say view all, you can see the latest change control that we just ran through. And if I look at the process, let's take a look at the process first, what it really graphically did. So once the form was submitted, it generated the next change control number. And that number was set in the change control. And then it went for document control review. So I was acting as the document control review person. That's why I got the task. And in this case, I approved the task. So it went, this path down. And then from there, it went and generated a nice document. And that was the end of the process. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the generated document looks like. So you can see on the PDF view, here's the PDF that it generated. So you can see it used the word template to generate this nice little document. You can see the change control number, type is a process change, validation is equal to 1, SLA days is 3, the description of the change, the risk level, including the AI summary that was produced by AI. And depending on the template that you use and depending on the data that you have for your change control process, this could be a pretty large document. This could be a 40-page document. This could be an 8-page document. However you want, the process automatically generated this for you. And now this is available to be distributed and reviewed and within your organization. So we come to an end of our demonstration here. And let me switch over to our last slide in our presentation.
So what I think that the takeaway here is that this proof of concept, obviously it didn't do exactly perhaps what you would like for change control process, but this proof of concept was actually developed in 2 hours. It's very easy to do, to build out a process that does conform with your needs and expectations. It's now possible to provide initial risk assessments of real quality in just seconds instead of hours. This improves the quality because people have a hard time wrapping their minds around all aspects of risk that a specific change control entails, and AI does a great job of essentially building up a checklist that you can either adopt or you can add to or cut back. So you can use FlowWright not just for this process, but to digitally transform sophisticated processes, all through your company, and build, bulletproof, auditable compliance trails. So that's it. Tara, did any questions come through?
Yeah, I was just going to say there's 2 questions that came in. The first one is how to use AI to understand the impact of change control. I know you just demonstrated that in some fashion, but can you go a little deeper?
Sure, absolutely. What we showed you is a simple example of AI computing the risk level and also generating a summary based on what the information that was given as a change control description. Typically in biotech pharma, change control has many information that goes into it, depends on the type of change control. We had a customer who had 32 different types of change control. It was a medical device company. And depending on the type of change control, there were various information that was required. So, for example, if you're doing a change to equipment, there's a lot of things that you might have, like a service tag number, equipment ID, type of equipment. There are many information that goes into that. And if it's a process change, if it's a document change, like a SOP change, then there's various other information that goes into that. So depending on the information that is collected for each type, you can feed all that data into AI to get a better summary output from AI. So you can actually say, hey, this is a change control for equipment, and here's the equipment part number, here's the type of equipment, and here's the change that we're trying to do. And now tell me, what the impact is, what, is the risk level. And even in the risk level, there may be different types of risks that you're asking for. So depending on how you want to do some prompt engineering, there's various different information that you can get back from AI based on what you have fed to the AI.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great. And then the second one is, can AI build a change control process based on your industry?
Absolutely. We have AI Copilot built into FlowWright. And FlowWright, all you have to do is go and describe your process. So you can say, I want to see a change control process for a biotech company. And the AI is able to figure out what that process might look like. And then with the click of a button, FlowWright will build that whole process for you automatically. And I believe one of our follow-up LinkedIn Live sessions will be demonstrating that type of example where the AI Copilot features of FlowWright, where to build a process automatically, where to build forms automatically, and various other features of Copilot features that we will demonstrate.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, gentlemen, as always, thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise. And thank you, everyone watching or in the future to watch. And if you have any questions, we'd love to help.
Thanks, Tara. Thank you, Dileepa.
Yeah, thank you.
See you next time. Bye.